In 1934, British-Australian author P.L. Travers published a children's fantasy book about an English nanny with magical abilities. Her adventures bring her to the home of the Banks children, where she dazzles and teaches the youngsters. This, of course, is Mary Poppins. And like a spoonful of sugar, her escapades went down as an instant classic. It wasn't long before Walt Disney got his hand on the film rights and turned Mary Poppins into a legend. However, there may be some things you didn't notice about this memorable movie. Stick with facts first as we examine some of the huge details you missed in 1964's Mary Poppins. It was Julie Andrews' first feature film. In the years since Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews has become a household name. She starred in films like The Sound of Music and Victor Victoria, but in 1963 she was relatively unknown. She spent much of her early career working on Broadway. When scouting talent for the film, Walt Disney went to Andrews' stage production of Camelot. After the show, Disney knew he had found the perfect actress for the role. Andrews initially declined because she was pregnant, but Disney was so convinced she was perfect, he decided to halt production for several months. Even P.L. Travers approved of Andrews for the role after speaking with her on the phone. It seemed Disney had the right idea. Julie Andrews ended up taking home Best Actress Oscar for playing Mary Poppins. The movie was filmed entirely on set at Disney. Not many films give you fantastical escapism like Disney movies. This is particularly true with Mary Poppins, as the film blends live action with the iconic Disney animation. The result is a wonderful journey for the entire family. But this adventure is not as sprawling as you might imagine. The entire movie was filmed on location at Disney Studios. But how did they get Burbank, California to resemble London? The set designers created more than 100 glass and matte paintings to create a little London right in the studio. Before we take a look at some of the other great details of Mary Poppins, be sure to give this video a like, and be sure to subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Walt Disney tried for decades to secure the rights. P.L. Travers was reluctant to sell the rights for Mary Poppins. She thought a film adaptation wouldn't work based on her source material. Walt Disney first approached Travers in 1938 about obtaining the film rights. Travers refused. Up until this point, Disney had only made animation. It didn't have a track record of live-action success. However, Walt Disney's daughters were huge fans of the Mary Poppins books, and Walt promised to make a film of it. As such, Disney spent the next 20 years trying to convince Travers to change her mind. She finally agreed in 1961 under the exception that she have script approval rights. This relationship between Walt Disney and P.L. Travers was dramatized in the 2013 Disney film Saving Mr. Banks. Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson played the duo. The highest-grossing film and a critical darling of 1964. After working for so long to secure the rights to the film, it was a vindication for Walt Disney to see Mary Poppins become an extraordinary success. On a roughly $5 million budget, Mary Poppins hauled in more than $103 million at the box office. Not only was this number good enough to be the highest-grossing film of 1964, but it was also the most popular movie ever to be released by Walt Disney Studios. The film wasn't just a commercial success either. The critics also adored the whimsical film. At the Oscars, Mary Poppins secured a staggering 13 nominations, including Best Director, Best Actress, and Best Picture. This number was also a record for a Disney film. On the night of the awards, Mary Poppins won 5 categories. Beyond Julie Andrews as Best Actress, Best Original Song, and Best Visual Effects, and more were secured. The profit funded Walt Disney World. The profit helped pay for Walt Disney World. After the film, Walt Disney purchased a huge parcel of land in Central Florida with the theme park in mind. The park was finished in 1971 and has become the highest-grossing theme park in the world and massive tourist destination. Thank you, Mary Poppins. Bert is an amalgam of many Travers characters. One of the most memorable roles in the film is Dick Van Dyke's character, Bert. Bert is a jack of all trades and one of Mary's closest friends. But unlike Mary herself, Bert is not a direct lift from the pages of the Travers books. Instead, he's a combination of many of her supporting characters. Notably, he's recognized as a chimney sweep. His song Chim Chimery was written with that job in mind. But throughout the film, Bert also has the jobs of street artist, musician, and kite salesman. Disney got away with inventing this character, but Travers insisted the film wouldn't allude to a romance between Bert and Mary. Instead, they're written as friends. Many names were shopped before Van Dyke. Lawrence Harvey and Cary Grant were a couple of the names suggested by Disney to play Bert. He was adamantly in favor of Grant playing the part. Meanwhile, the most important aspect for Travers was that he was British. As such, she proposed Laurence Olivier, Ron Moody, Peter O'Toole, Alec Guinness, and Peter Sellers. After much deliberation, the studio went with the pizzazz and energy of Dick Van Dyke. P.L. Travers was disappointed with much of the movie. As noted earlier, P.L. Travers was not thrilled with the on-screen representation of her characters. It seems it was nearly impossible for Disney to get her approval on all aspects. Although she was involved with the movie development, Walt Disney had the final creative say. Travers had complaints about a number of things. Foremost, Travers didn't approve of the film version of Mary Poppins' cheery disposition. She felt the character should have a more stern attitude, as in the books. Travers also hated the musical numbers in the film and the animation. But most fans will agree the Oscar-winning music and patented Disney animation are the most fun parts of the movie. Even at the premiere in 1964, Travers still had notes and changes she wanted to discuss with the studio. Addressing these concerns at the after-party to Walt, Travers was met with stark realization. Walt Disney famously told her, "Pamela, the ship has sailed." One of the longest gaps between sequels. If you watched Mary Poppins when it came out, you might not have realized it had a sequel. This is because it has one of the longest time gaps between sequels of any franchise. In 2018, Disney decided to follow up their smash hit from decades prior with Mary Poppins Returns. This puts the gap between sequels at 54 years. The plot follows the same Mary Poppins character, this time played by Emily Blunt, who has returned to help the Banks family through their troubles. Lin-Manuel Miranda plays Bert. The film even had a surprise cameo by Dick Van Dyke, who at 92 years old performed a complicated dance routine. It was cool to see Disney bring back Mary Poppins all these decades later to inspire a new generation of children. Like its predecessor, the new Mary Poppins was met with terrific critical reviews and had a nice run at the box office. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think? Where does Mary Poppins rank in the list of Disney films? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.